They are the restaurants that we cherish and hold a special place in our hearts, where warm and welcoming staff greet us with a smile and make us feel like cherished guests. These are the establishments that whisk us away on a culinary adventure, and no detail is overlooked in offering extraordinary dining experiences. It is where we choose to toast our achievements and celebrate milestones with our loved ones. They are the distinguished restaurants of North America, and every DiRōNA has a story. Meet Rey Arias, a Cuban-born, Louisiana-trained culinary master and renowned restaurateur hailing from Raleigh, North Carolina. Rey's passion for cooking ignited at an early age, and he perfected his hospitality skills in the iconic restaurants of New Orleans. After a successful career with Ruth's Chris Steakhouse that took him around the world, Rey and his family made Raleigh their home, opening Rey's Restaurant in 2004. Rey's menu is a testament to his roots, offering signature French Quarter-inspired dishes. Welcome back to another episode of Every DiRōNA Has a Story. I'm host Scott Breard, and with me, today is something special. All the way from Raleigh, North Carolina, with me is Rey Arias of Rey's Restaurant. Rey, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
So, something special you have down there in Raleigh, North Carolina. First year DiRōNA award-winning restaurant, but you've got a real special French Quarter themed restaurant. Tell us a bit about it.
Well, I've been in the restaurant business for 55 years. I started when I was 15 years old in New Orleans, and that's where our French Quarter flair comes in. I worked in the French Quarter in New Orleans for many, many years. I worked for this fellow named Jimmy Moran, which was a legend in New Orleans. I worked for Ruth Frittel, which is the founder of Ruth Chris Steakhouses for many years. I was the vice president of operations for corporate Ruth Chris for 12 years. Opened 34 restaurants for Ruth Chris on my restaurant career worldwide. So I opened restaurants in China, Mexico, Puerto Rico, and all over the United States in my restaurant career. And it's been a blessing. The restaurant business has been very, very good to me. I was born in Cuba, but I grew up in New Orleans. My parents immigrated from Cuba when I was 14 in 1968. And I immediately started working in the restaurant industry when I was 15, while I was in high school. And I made a career out of it, and it's been very good to me.
Now, taking a bit of, a New Orleans flavor, Creole, Cajun, gumbo, some of these special things has really been a backbone, I guess, for you there in Raleigh. Am I correct? And your patrons must love it. You're a complete success. So tell us a bit about adding those flavors to a restaurant in North Carolina.
We opened this restaurant 20 years ago, and my idea was to open a restaurant that had a little bit of flavors from all my history in the restaurant industry. My biggest success in the restaurant industry has been steaks. So that's what I have a New Orleans-style steakhouse. And that's what we've created. We've been voted the best steaks in this area 4 years in a row by all the magazines, by the people, you name it. We have gotten the best steaks in this area 4 straight years. The other part of the menu that we start with on the appetizers we have a Cajun style chicken and andouille sausage gumbo with okra and that sort of things. That's a very traditional New Orleans Cajun chicken gumbo. We have turtle soup, which is very New Orleans. And it's just turtle meat with a mirepoix, which is very traditional New Orleans. We have a shrimp dish. We call it shrimp Orleans, and that's just named that, shrimp Orleans. And it has a little bit of a spicy butter sauce with paprikas, things like that are a little bit of a Cajun spice. fried oysters, very New Orleans. And we use succotash. Succotash is a medley of beans. And then you put the oysters on top of it. And then we put what is called an aioli sauce, very New Orleans. We have various salads, very traditional salads. Caesar salads, combination salad, chopped salad, which is really more of a Ruth Chris salad, because that's what we used to do when I work at Ruth Chris. And we copy them a little bit. Hey, copying is not a bad thing, especially when you copy the right people.
Right. Well, Ruth is one of our Hall of Fame members. And New Orleans is where our award organization began in 1953 with Ella Brennan, who I know you have Bananas Foster's on your menu. That's a Brennan family creation, I believe, and you may know more about that than I do.
Started at the restaurant on Royal Street, and the story is that the chief of police of New Orleans used to go to Brennan's quite often, and the chef offered him the Bananas Foster's to taste, and said, "Oh, I'm going to have this every day." So, and his last name was Foster, so that became Bananas Foster.
And you're correct, because that's the exact story we were told last September with Ralph Brennan as we had a DiRōNA conference in New Orleans that week, and Gary Wollerman, who maybe somebody you worked with at Ruth Chris as well. We were at GW Finn, so such a special place in the French Quarter. Now, your chef, did you bring the chef from New Orleans to maintain and continue a consistent menu, or did you train somebody there in North Carolina?
I trained our chef since she was 17 years old, and I taught her everything she knows. Going back to the people you just mentioned, I used to work with Gary Wellerman at Ruth Chris, which he owns GW Finn's. And the other owner is Tenny Flynn, which was a corporate chef at Ruth Chris with me. I hired Tenny Flynn. Okay, I was the vice president of operations corporate at Ruth Chris. I don't know if I mentioned that or not. And I've been knowing a lot of the Brennan's family for many, many years. Remember that I grew up in New Orleans, and I'm a little older than Ralph Brennan. And Melvin is the owner of Galatoire's. Okay, and he used to work with me at Ruth Chris as well. He worked with me at his first manager's job in Ruth Chris. I hired him as a general manager at Ruth Chris for Seattle, Washington. And he and I are friends, very good friends.
Wonderful. Tell us more about Ray's restaurant. Wine list must complement a French Quarter menu quite well. I know your wine list is very special as well.
I'm a wine lover, and wine and steak just go great together, especially red wine, in my opinion. But hey, wine lovers that like white wine with steaks, I love them too. They pay the price for what they like. God bless. God bless America. And what a great country. And I'm a great believer of that, by the way. So the variety of wine lists that we have, it goes from wines that are very, very good. We have no wines that are mediocre wines, whether they're $40 wines or $800 wines. We don't have any first growth French wines or anything like that, because we don't have that clientele that go on that very great upscale of wines, but we have some spectacular wines. I don't know what else I can tell you about the wine list. The variety is very, very good. And I do taste a lot of wines. We do a lot of wine tastings with purveyors. We do a couple of wine dinners a year, which we have one in October, and we're trying to do more of those as well.
That's fantastic. Tell me about your staff. You mentioned your chef's been trained by you and with you quite some time. I'm assuming such a landmark restaurant, you must have had many staff that have been with you quite some time, I would assume.
Our staff has been working with us for many, many years. We have some staff that has worked with me for the last 20 years. Our event coordinator, her first job with us started in '87 when she first got out of college, and she went to school to be an event coordinator out of East Carolina, and she's still the event coordinator for Ray's Restaurant today. She's a wonderful girl, very smart, very beautiful, and she's very knowledgeable of the restaurant business. And she brought in her knowledge, and then the knowledge that we produce of Ray's Restaurant, and this is a great combination. It's worked really, really well for us. And the success that we're having is because we do have a tremendous staff. We try to work with them, give them a little knowledge of the menu. We have a very beautiful restaurant. If you ever get the opportunity to come to the area, where is home for you, by the way?
I'm coming to you from Toronto, Ontario, and we often get a chance to get down for a week or 2 week tour, as we did last summer through New Orleans, Louisiana, into Texas. So we do have a North Carolina trip planned. So my wife Kelly and I will certainly make our way by.
At the restaurant? You said you live in Toronto?
We are in Toronto, Ontario. Yes.
Toronto, Ontario. I'm sorry. The Toronto. You confuse me. Toronto, Canada.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
I helped open the Ruth Chris at the Hilton there many years ago in 1993.
Yeah.
Owner is Canadian. Her name is Lana Duke. She's a great gal. She knows me very well.
Yeah. Wonderful person. Now, the most important staff member, I think, of all, you have family following in your footsteps. Am I right? Your son is now working with you.
Okay, my wife and I started this restaurant 20 years ago when Ray was a small young man, and he's been in this restaurant eating fish soup, as he called it, since he was 2-3 years old. And fish soup is actually grouper. But he liked grouper when he was 3 years old, and he called it fish soup. So my wife has been a tremendous, important person in the success of this restaurant. She has worked in our office ever since day one. And even to this day, she still works with us. Not as much as she used to, because we have a little more help and a little more money. That always helps. And Ray is now one of our managers and the entrepreneur that's going to take over this restaurant, take it to the next level. Even though we're very successful, I think we still have room for growth, improvement, and who knows? If he's young enough, he's only 23 years old, he might want to open another restaurant. I'm good with where I am. I'm very happy with the restaurant that we have. And financially, we do extremely well. But my son is the next generation of this restaurant. I'm the first generation. It's going to be the second generation. And who knows? It might be a third generation of restaurants. Son, you don't like to be that way? By the way, Ray is sitting right next to me. He's listening to our conversation.
That's okay. And it's special. We know we have many restaurants awarded by DiRōNA that have now made their way to the second and now making their way to the third. And if we look back at the Columbia restaurant, I think they're just moving into their sixth generation in Tampa, Florida. So it's always wonderful to see landmark institution restaurants such as yours to make its way through family, and it's such a wonderful thing. So North Carolina, it's quite a ways from Louisiana. How and why did you make the move? Was it within the industry?
A friend of mine, which is the largest Ruth Chris franchisee, his name is Steve DeCastro, and you may know Steve DeCastro. Him and I have been friends for 56 years. We started being friends when I was 14 in junior high school in New Orleans. And we both started in the restaurant industry together when we were 15 years old. We started working with a chef called Alfredo Fracaro, which is a spectacular chef. and we both worked for Jim Moran. He went to work for Ruth Fertel before I did, and then he is the one that recommended start working with them because they were a very good company. Safety Casper is now the largest Ruth Chris franchisee in the world. I don't know if you know he has your award, by the way. Okay, and he's also raised my son's godfather. Okay, him and I the best of friends. And this restaurant where we are used to be at Ruth Chris, which he opened in 1997. I started working with him in 96. And when we opened here, I came in, helped open this restaurant in Raleigh. And we had a tremendous success. And the rest of his restaurants are history. This was number 2 of his restaurants. He had one in Baltimore, Maryland. And then we opened this one in November of 1997. And he's still doing spectacular. And that's how I came to Raleigh, North Carolina. I love Raleigh. It's a great place to live. The restaurant's doing extremely well. My son was born here, and I'm here for the duration.
Wonderful. Fantastic. Now, the DiRōNA Award, your first year, 2024, but must have been something that you were familiar with Ruth's Chris. Ruth was I believe Ruth was a founding member in 1990 when it went from being the Travel Holiday Award to the DiRōNA Award with Ted Balistreri, Tony May in New York, John Arena in Toronto. How familiar were you with DiRōNA previous to your restaurant receiving it this year?
I'm certainly proud of the award, and thank you very much. And we just want to receive it every year from now on.
Wonderful. Well, we look forward to making sure that happens, and we look forward to visiting, a chance to meet the entire family, and to definitely enjoy an incredible menu that you have there. We look forward to it.
Well, we're looking forward to having our restaurant and serve you a spectacular dinner.
We look forward to it.
A dining experience because we're spectacular.
Well, no doubt. Everyone, it's been a wonderful time for me to join Rey Arias at Rey's Restaurant in Raleigh, North Carolina. Second generation landmark restaurant there. Rey, thank you for your time, and we definitely look forward to meeting you soon.
I thank you, Scott, and I look forward to meet you in Raleigh, maybe New Orleans. I go to New Orleans 4 or 5 times a year.
Well, we will definitely have to make that happen. Thank you for watching another episode of Every DiRōNA Has a Story. I'm Scott Breard, and it's such a pleasure to have you join us. Thank you.